Wesley Mailloux taking a look at the feature race at Del Mar on Sunday. 2-year-olds maybe with eyes on the first Saturday in May of 2025. And race number 8, the Grade 3 Bob Hope Stakes. We're going 7/8 of a mile. Let's take a look at this field. Only 6 in here, but only 2 Bob Bafferts, so at least they've got a fighting chance, the rest of the ownership and trainers in Southern California. Mckenzie Street is the most accomplished horse in this race. He's already placed in a couple of Grade 1s, turning back in distance after skipping the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, in the case of Mckenzie Street as well as Kalea Bay, I guess it flatters them a little bit that they've raced against Citizen Bull and have been in the money in those races, knowing that what he was able to do on Breeders' Cup weekend out at Del Mar. I agree, Mckenzie Street is the most accomplished in this field, but I don't think necessarily he's the only one to look at. I mentioned Kalea Bay has gotten better with each of those starts, was a runaway winner last time out. I think the first-time starter, if this one stays in and doesn't go to the spot at Churchill, a little interesting. And Bullard was very impressive on debut.
Certainly was, and got a big Beyer speed figure that day of 84. Considering Mckenzie Street, after only 3 starts, his best Beyer was an 81. But Mckenzie Street has taken on the top competition, as Ashley mentioned. We'll throw up the Timeform US pace projector, and Mckenzie Street's a very tactical horse. We saw that in his sprint debut, where he went to the front, in his recent 2-turn race, where he tracked in the pocket. I think he can go wherever Kazushi wants him to be in the early part of this race. Maximus, the number 6, showed speed against maiden optionals in his career debut. I think Kalea Bay is on ascend.
I think so too. I think Kalea Bay has to go based on what we've seen. Didn't work out as well on the debut, maybe needed the race, but in those last 2, that has been the mission, and obviously put it together last time out. Maximus, as you mentioned, showed speed, and Bullard has the LP flag, and my only question about Bullard's second time out, will he be a little sharper from the gate? I don't think he missed the break or anything like that, but he was towards the back of the pack, and then he just continued to make one big run throughout the race. I could see him being a little bit more forward. I'm not saying that he won't be last. I'm just saying I think he'll still have his sights on the leaders.
Fair to say a little bit of class relief for the one Mckenzie Street, who ran second in the Del Mar Futurity Gaming, who of course then ran second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and then he ran third in the American Pharaoh last time out. Let's watch Mckenzie Street's performance 2 starts back in that Del Mar Futurity. He never stopped trying in this race, and he was second to Gaming, and Gaming has proven to be a really good horse after that effort. And in the American Pharaoh, he was wired by Citizen Bull, who's going to be the 2-year-old champion.
Yeah, I thought this was a good performance. I mean, it's Grade 1 competition in those last 2. And in comparison, I think the big thing is to show that replay. The key thing is it was 7/8. I think a mile and a 16th was maybe pushing it in that third career start. I think this is a horse that benefits from the class relief, has a great draw in here to have options. How close do you want to be to it early? Do you want to be further back? And I just think this horse is going to take another step forward off the last out effort.
A potential key to this pace scenario could be the 2 Dr. Ruben M, who just took the field gate to wire going a mile at Santa Anita, albeit in a slower paced race than what he's expected to be facing on Sunday. But he did show a nice burst of speed on the turn to draw clear, opened up an insurmountable advantage, and just held sway. I think 7/8 is going to hit him right between the eyes.
Yeah, I think the distance is key for him, especially with him kind of, I don't want to say shortening up, but he was holding his own in those final stages. You feel like after the mile race, cutting back to 1 turn, 7/8 will be perfect for him. My concern is I don't see him on the lead. You talked about, he has been forward in those longer distances. When you look at others in here, they're coming out of sprint. Yes, they're stretching out, but they don't really know that right away, right? If they want to go, they're keen and they'll go out there. And maybe he gets a good trip where he's just stalking the pace early on. And they've tried to have him rate. So I'm curious to see what he'll want to do. He might have a mind of his own, and he may be out there towards the front.
Kalea Bay, the number 3, was beaten at odds on by Bullard 2 starts back, and then came back to flatter that horse when winning very easily on September the 28th. I mean, he just went right to the top in this race and kept on rolling along, and he's starting to run to his pedigree. He's a half to a very nice horse. Constellation won the Grade 1 La Brea at 7/8 of a mile, so Kalea Bay's speed, pedigree, connections, Beyer speed figures, a lot of boxes to tick here.
A lot of boxes to tick for sure. And I think the most impressive thing about that race is you see 2 starts back at Del Mar, got tired. Bullard was able to catch this one. We'll take a look at that a little bit later. But the splits this one rattled off at Santa Anita are no joke, especially for 5 Ace going 56-4. Is there the option that if the firster isn't in here or isn't here and doesn't break sharply, is Kalea Bay by herself, by himself, I should say? You think Maximus is going, but if you want to go on speed alone, I think this horse might be a little faster.
A lot of confidence the great Bob Baffert is showing by entering the 4 Madaket Road, a first-time starter in this graded stakes race. This is a $600,000 yearling by Quality Road, who wins a good 14% with his 2-year-old debut runners. The Dam was a Grade 2 stakes-winning dirt sprinter. She's foaled a couple of black-type runners. I watched the work back on November the 2nd with Mailloux, who's a pretty good 2-year-old filly running in the Desi Arnaz on Saturday, and kept pace with her. Some quick works. Typical Baffert.
Yeah, I mean, we know Baffert has them ready to roll on debut. I mean, the pedigree's good. I don't think the pedigree was super eye-catching. I think we see 650,000 nowadays. That can go one of two ways. It can be a really great pedigree, a half to so-and-so, or it can be just some black type, or sometimes you don't see either of those things. Pedigree is good. Quality Roads, like them first time out. It's Bob, but you see speedy drills. I mean, to me, that's really all we know at this point. There's not too much else to say.
Michael McCarthy gave the number 5 Bullard time off his career debut back on September the 1st at Del Mar. Really good-looking performance. Kalea Bay went to the lead in this race. Bullard had to rally from last. We usually don't see 2-year-olds rally from so far off the pace. Kalea Bay looks home free at the 8th pole, but Bullard just doesn't stop running. He's on his left lead here. He's going to finish strong to get past Kalea Bay, and he got a very good buyer.
Those final 20 strides to the wire, I thought were pretty impressive. And I think if you have time to go back and watch the full replay, highly recommend it. He was not slow out of the gate in the sense that he missed the break or stumbled or got bumped around, but it just took him a little bit to get into stride. And then I just thought he was cruising so nice down the back stretch. When he started to kind of make that move in the stretch, you go, oh, Kalea Bay is still going to be home free. Not going to get there. And then it was really those last 20 jumps where he just dug in very deep. So I thought he was really impressive. I think looking at that, you wonder, does he want to stay one turn forever? By gun runner, I don't think necessarily so, but I think for him, 7/8 should be perfect for him. Just getting that gradual stretch out, not doing too much too soon.
McCarthy really tightened the screws with that last workout. 5 furlongs in a blistering sub 1 minute, and did it in company with Formidable Man, who won the Del Mar Derby earlier this year for McCarthy. So it looks like Bullard's coming into this race in good shape. Maximus, can't argue with the debut. Maybe the competition he faced that day, but he went right to the front and improved his position and actually got a strong 76 buyer speed figure. The waters get deeper here, not only from a class standpoint, but there are going to be some quick ones breaking to his inside.
That's the key, I think, is that there are going to be other pace horses in here. We've talked about Kalea Bay. You have a firster, which you don't know necessarily if they opt here, what they'll do. He's certainly fast, and it's so tough. I feel like sometimes we try to pigeonhole horses based on their debut or their second career start to really know what they're capable of doing. I'm not saying he can't close, but when you see what worked last time out, I am sure Diego Herrera is going to play the break and see what happens, but I don't think they're going to hold this horse back. I think they're still going to go and get into a good position. The question is now, against the level, stretching out with other speed, can he prevail?
Let's take a look at our top picks for the Grade 3 Bob Hope, the feature at Del Mar on Sunday. You're going with Bullard. Again, that was an explosive stretch kick in his debut. I like that he was given a little bit of time to recover from that effort, and he seems to be working quickly. And it looks like there'll be a fair pace from the run at.
I think so. And I think we see this race really similarly. We have the same top 3 in here. I think in the case of Bullard, visually very impressed with that sort of trip. You mentioned you don't see horses necessarily close from the back. I think it's safe to say Mckenzie Street has the best resume to this point in terms of the waters. And then a horse like Kalea Bay underneath. If he's on top by himself, this race could be over at this point based on the last out. So that's kind of where I saw this. To me, just most intrigued by Bullard off the debut.
I generally like horses turning back to this 7 furlong sprint distance. Mckenzie Street. I also like the fact that Yatin skipped the Breeders' Cup. He could have easily run there. He had the credentials to do so. He probably has some questions concerning distance. I think 7/8 is going to work well for him, and I think the drop in class fits as well. 1536 for me, 5134 for Ashley. It's the Bob Hope at Del Mar on Sunday. Good luck. Hey buddy, you look like you're in need of a winner, and just remember, if you like and subscribe right over here, you can get all of the great content on DRF.com, including Race of the Day, stakes previews, and lots more, featuring me and my superb selections. Trust me, you're not going to regret it.